Welcome back to the Shabbos Treasures series. I'm Gila Ross, host of the Power Up podcast, and I'm here together with my co-host,
Rabbi Samuel Ross, and we are delighted to be able to share a weekly idea that you can take into your Shabbos and upgrade and beautify immediately. Enjoy. Tonight is a short one. It's one of the reasons it's short is because it's really difficult, and I don't want to be asked too many questions on it. So, this will be our final session before Pesach. After Pesach, please God, we're going to start cooking bishul. But between now and then, we've got one melacha, one of the 39 left, called kneading. Not needing to yawn
or needing
sleep, but kneading with a K. So what we're going to look at tonight are the laws of kneading, and we're going to do this. We're going to do this fast. So we're going to start looking at two questions. The first one is: are there any issues potentially with making baby cereal on Shabbos?
Good.
Hey, look at that!
Hello.
Making baby cereal on Shabbos. You probably don't do it, but what about making baby cereal on Shabbos? Is that okay?
Yeah, of course. It's fine.
Of course. Okay, we're going to come back.
I think no.
You think no? Okay, so we got. I think no, and I've got. Of course, we're going to come back and see. Second one, and they're going to make this one topical. Do you all have your own recipe for charoset? Charoses, right? You make that, with the wine and the nuts. Or there's someone told me last night that 10 pounds. Oh, look at Nicola over there. That there's 10 pounds a packet of nuts for Pesach this year. To which I responded, I'll have 3. But leaving that particular point alone leads to probably like 15 pounds or something. But the point is, if you discover that you didn't make your charoses before Pesach comes in, and it's now Seder night, can I make my charoses on Seder night? So those are the two questions we're going to try and look at. Any issues with baby cereal, and if you forgot to make the charoset on erev Pesach, what do I do now? Okay, we've got about 7 minutes left to fulfill our deal with Stephen. Gila,
All right.
please fill us in with what the melacha of kneading is.
So what is kneading? Kneading is, drum roll please, combining.
Thank you, Stephen.
Combining by means of a binding agent into a solid or even semi-solid mass. So basically, you're taking something which has small particles like flour, oats, etc., and you're making it into some sort of like solid mixture with a binding agent, which is usually some sort of like liquid, some sort of water or mayonnaise or something like that. Okay.
Okay, so are we all clear on the concept of what the problem could be?
Hold on a second. But if you, let's say, have a thick sauce or a batter and you add or mix liquid into it, that, such as, for example, mixing baby cereal with milk, that would also be a problem. Okay, so what's the process, right? There's 2 steps to it. Number 1, liquid comes into contact with the flour, right? And number 2, you then mix it and blend it with a kneading action. Both of these steps are forbidden on Shabbos.
So let's think of an example. Let's say I've got my avocado. I don't know how many of you like avocado, but I want to mix it together with mayonnaise, right? So again, we haven't yet discussed how you can do it, but that would be the potential problem. To mix mayonnaise, which is the liquid, together with avocado, I'm now making it into one big mass. That would be a classical example of what the problem is. Maddie's thinking.
No, I know you can mix the mayonnaise, but you have to do it differently to
okay, so you're good. So you're good.
You're getting ahead of the game.
You're like
I remember this from my learning days.
Great, amazing. Well, these are still your learning days. So basically, what we've seen is that the problem is to get your liquid, which could be mayonnaise or oil or whatever it is, and to get the solid thing and to start mixing it together. Now, I want to say before we get into what the solution is, you should know this only applies to small bits, which when combined will not be recognized individually, but will be seen as one thing. So if you've got small bits and it sort of all comes together, that's the problem. But let's say I had huge pieces of banana or something like that, that's going to be okay. It's only when you got the small bits of the the tuna fish or the small bits of the egg.
Well, that's if you want to put granola into yogurt, that would be okay because it's separate.
If it's like, but it has to be like individual big bits. So now let's look at the case study of egg mayonnaise. Stephen, I've still got about 4 minutes. Egg mayonnaise. It's not that tiring, egg mayonnaise, or maybe it is. So egg mayonnaise. How do we make egg mayonnaise on Shabbos? Because that's our classical problem. We've got our mayonnaise, we've got our egg. How do we mix it together? Now, maybe some of you are thinking, thank God I can't stand egg mayonnaise, but let's say you actually like it, or you think it looks impressive for your guests, and you didn't make it before Shabbos. How do I go about making it on Shabbos?
Do it a different way.
So there's two things you need to do. Excellent, Eddie. You need to.
So instead of like mashing the egg with a fork, how you would normally do it, I always put I don't always, but put eggs in like a food bag and squash them, and then use the mayonnaise in like a whisking way rather than a
or mix it with your toes.
way.
What
did you say?
You can even use your fingers.
Mix it with your toes.
Darren, I think you may have just lost your Shabbat guess.
Yeah. So you've got to do two things. You've got to
They do weird things in Leeds, I tell you.
Wow. Okay, we're not going that way. You've got to first.
Only because my in-laws are there as well.
I know. First, you've got
Go away with it.
order of adding the liquid, and then you got to have an unusual manner of mixing it. You've got to do two changes. Again, first you've got to change the order of adding it. So if, let's say I first put in my egg, I put in my mayonnaise first. And then I've also got to change how I do it. If I use a fork and I do it like that, so I'll do it crisscross or something like that. So I want to make my egg mayonnaise. I've got to do two things. First, I've got to put it in the other way around. If I've normally put in the egg, I put the mayonnaise in first, and then I've got to do it in an unusual manner. I've got to do it crisscross or something like that. Or apparently in Leeds, they use their toes or maybe fingers. So Rebetz and Giller, how would you now translate that into charoset? Or should we ask them?
Yeah, let's ask them.
How would you now? I forgot to make.
Don't ask Darren. He'll probably put fingernails in it or something.
How do I combine the wine together with the nuts and the whatever it is that you put into your charoset?
Stir it a different way.
So you've got to do two things. First, you're going to stir it in another way. What else do you need to do?
Can you chop it? Like you'll have to chop as such.
Well, it's a good question, Darren. That we discussed another week about not making it too small unless maybe it's just before. But there's two things you've got to do. You've got to reverse how you do it. But you've also got to reverse the order that it's put in. So if let's say you would put the wine, in first normally, so now you put the nuts in first. You've got to reverse the order that it's put in, and you've got to do it in an unusual way. And
who's to say which is the correct order in the first place? Because you might put the wine in first, and I might put the nuts in first.
So
generally, when you make a mixture, we add the liquid into the solid. Like if you think about it, when you're making egg mayo, you do the eggs and then you put the mayo on top and mix it, right? When you do the charoset, it's usually you put the wine in last, right? When you make baby cereal, for example, or when you make oatmeal, you usually put the oats and whatever in, and then you put the milk or whatever else. So
even when you make a cup of coffee, you put the coffee granules in first.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
There you have it.
So generally, the liquid. So generally on Shabbos, we put the liquid in first.
And a good idea is also, let's say you're doing the charoset, add a lot of wine because it makes it thinner. The point is
not for the reasons you think.
yeah.
The thicker a mixture is, it doesn't matter whether it's the wine, it's the egg mayonnaise, whatever it is, and the more stringent it is. You make it as thin as possible. Gilla, maybe fill us in with one or two other examples. Maybe we can ask them, and then we'll close up.
Okay. What about? Would it be okay to make like oats on Shabbos? You're not cooking them, just you know what oats are, right? Porridge. You guys call them porridge in England.
Do they?
I think if you pre-prepare it, you're allowed to.
Okay.
Absolutely, but can I do it on Shabbos if I haven't pre-prepared?
No.
For this reason, because you're making a thick, sticky, non-pourable mixture. It's not.
Does that go towards like obviously you can't cook something in a liquid? Is that like the same?
So you're asking a good question. So that really going to start seeing next time out about what you can cook in.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to see how you could or can't do that. And there are some things you can, some things you can't. But let's say this is in the third vessel for argument's sake.
Yeah.
Now we're dealing with the mixture. And again, I know we're going to let Stephen out in just a minute. Let's look at the fight. Maybe we'll ask Stephen this one. What about baby cereal?
Come on, when we make your baby cereal, can you have it on Shabbos?
Not answering that.
Say no.
No.
So I think the answer is, I think it depends whether it's going to be the thick or the thin one, right? If it's the thick one, it's going to be similar to the thick oatmeal that the cereal, and that's going to be a problem. But if it's going to be more watery and it's going to be a looser type of substance, then again you reverse the order of how you put it in and stir it in an unusual way. So again, just to sum up, I think we've learned tonight. We're finishing up now. The halacha, the melacha of kneading. It's combining the small particles where you're using the liquid to bind it into a solid mass. It's a problem, and the way to deal with it is when it's more of a loose mixture. What you do is you reverse both the order that you put it in, and you do it in an unusual way.
Thank you for taking the time to listen. To schedule a complimentary discovery call with Gila, please email gilaross@gmail.com. You can also learn more from Gila on Instagram. It's Gila Ross. And please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out. Have a wonderful day.